Joining me live on PTV tonight is a PDP chieftain and an economist as well as a public affairs analyst, Dr. Katch Ononuju. Welcome to PTV tonight.
Thank you for having me.
First, let's talk about the impeachment of the Senate President Daura Sacked. This seems to be a major priority of the APC right now. What comes to mind?
Well, I think the APC probably are very afraid of what they think they did with Speaker Tambuwal when he became Speaker of the House of Rep and at the same time had crossed to the APC. So probably at that time when he was there and he closed the Federal House of Reps, and there were probably some advantages that they thought they gained that they do not right now want the PDP to gain with Saraki there. Apart from that, I think it's foolery trying to personalize the issues. There are two things there. The president of the country is elected by the people. The president of the Senate is elected by the senators. The law about his election and his removal has very three key words. One is can only be. And that can only be removed by a two-third majority of the other word, entirety of the third word, the membership of the Senate. So if you said can only be entirety and membership, the membership right now is 109, and if we have 109 and then two-thirds of it is what we say is 72 or whatever thereabouts, 72, 73, depending on how many. So if we have that and you now want to remove him, the law is very clear. If the APC can do what Obasanjo used to do, then they might be able to do it.
Okay, now, is there any legal means or any constitutional means that the APC can oust Bukola Saraki apart from the constitutional two-third majority?
Well, I think they now want to reinterpret what that two-third means, and that's what I've seen. Some fraudulent signaling by Professor Issa Sagi. You know, you have members of the law council who are members of the party. When you start using them to put hypotheses on the public space that are not in line with the law, you try to kind of preempt the public's perception of, okay, that maybe is legal if a professor of law says that, but that's not true. Professor Sagi is a member of the APC. Professor Sagi is lying. No, what you need according to the law is two-thirds of the membership of the entirety of that Senate, not two-thirds of people who are sitting. And how do they want to do that? Arrest the House of Rep, the Senate President, arrest the Speaker, the Deputy Senate President, and then when you make them not there, you say, fine, if they're not there, we still have to sit. Okay, fine, we're here now, let us organize. Leader, what do? We can elect a Senate President pro tempore, and from there we do election. There's a kangaroo. If you want to do that, allow membership of the Senate to sit. Don't stop the other people, and then you only let them do, just like what you saw in Benue State. So I think the government is not sincere. I probably think what they want to do is to implode the Senate. If it's not available for them, you're looking at exactly the bad mother in the Solomon judgment about the child. If I cannot have the child, let's kill the child. If I cannot help the Senate, let's kill the Senate. Then they can go to court, and as they go to court, we'll go towards election. I think that is an affront, a very, very bad, violent affront on our democracy.
Okay, now let's talk about the siege on the National Assembly now and subsequent sack of Daura. I mean, this we cannot, hide under the carpet. What on all of the drama? What actually comes to mind when all of that happened?
Well, as you have heard, Daura was simply used as a fall guy in a holistic plan.
And Saraki has been fingered in this.
No, sorry, nobody's finger, Saraki. Government can manufacture every lie. You don't believe in Saraki has nothing to do with that. It's foolish to suggest that Saraki, a man who's not part of the executive, controls those underneath the executive. Don't you understand? That's like saying Saraki is the one who gives instructions to Buratai. Saraki controls it shows you the incompetence of the executive branch. That's what we've been saying. President Buhari is running a very incompetent government, and you have a lot of non-state actors who just do things on their own, and when it doesn't work, they could write in a report. There's no way anybody could finger Saraki. If you finger Saraki, it means the government is unfit. Buhari should actually resign.
An aide to the dismissed DG have actually come out to say that his boss, at some time, at some point, received some amount of money or usually received gratification from Saraki, and could be the one who could be the mole, in all of this drama, giving Saraki an upper hand in all of these things that have been happening.
It's not true. Saraki has not had any upper hand. What has had the upper hand has been the law.
The siege in his house, and then he was not there.
The siege on his house was not done by the DG SSS. It was done by the Nigerian police. Don't forget, the vehicles that were used were the vehicles that Mr. Dangote had donated 160 pieces of to the police. So those were the white vehicles that were used to siege Saraki's house and to siege the home of the Deputy Senate President. So that's not, unless you want to tell me Saraki controls the police and controls the IG, and Saraki controls, it's not true, man. This is just crappy thing. Anybody can come and say anything. That they say anything doesn't make it real. What actually you could point to is, yes, at a time when, in regards of the still ongoing disagreements amongst members of the executive branch, they start fighting against themselves. There was a time when I knew that the DG SSS brought up incriminating reports against members of the same executive branch in this regard, Mr. Magu of the EFCC. It's the same thing you've seen that the current Attorney General has now brought a debt against Kemi Adeosun simply because she refused his law firm from collecting extra commission on the Abacha route to recovery, for which she insisted that the European lawyer had already been paid his commission, and because of that, so if you're seeing this infighting amongst members of the executive branch, that's got nothing to do with the opposition or the Senate. No. The problems of the Senate, yes, you don't like Saraki, there's nothing wrong with that. Mr. Shomole has every right to dream that his people control everywhere. Just like President Goodluck Jonathan also believed that he had the right to dream that Speaker Tambuwal continued to stay loyal to the PDP that brought him there. But no, by the time Tambuwal crossed over to the APC, he was still Speaker. So we already have a precedent set in this thing. Don't forget, the elections in the Senate and into the executive branch or the Federal House of Reps is done by the senators after being elected and members of the Federal House of Reps among themselves after being elected. It's not done by the party. No. It's not also instrumented by the party's instructions. And that's why Saraki had been fought all this long, because the presidency believes that Saraki was a child of an incestuous behavior. Okay? That the process through which Saraki became Senate president was incestuous politically. It did not come from their pronouncements. Saraki, and if you look at it, it's very clear. Saraki and others joined the alliance that was called the APC from the PDP. They were promised, you guys will come in, you will bring the vice president. We who are the regional formers, SCN, CPC, will bring presidential candidates. But when Saraki and co went in there, the promises were not kept. So when they now came into National Assembly, they didn't want to listen to those who have broken their words again. So they connived and then seized control of the leadership of the National Assembly. And that was how the crisis started. In rush, in anger, the president did not allow due process to be followed in bringing charges against Mr. Saraki in regards to the charges at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The Supreme Court held that those charges normally should have come from the Code of Conduct Bureau. It is the docket of charge of Code of Conduct Bureau that puts you to prosecution. But the presidency wrote that docket and instructed the Code of Conduct Tribunal to start sitting. And they made a lot of mistakes in what they did. So that is their internal problem, for which I'm not going to kill anybody about. So for me, all we should simply do is do not undermine the rule of law, no matter how you want to seek advantage.
Okay, now, but we cannot deny the fact that amongst all of the security chiefs that was sent to the Senate for screening. I mean, one would notice that Saraki did not have any supposed problem, or Lawa Daura did not have any supposed problem with the Senate when it was sent for screening. Unlike Magu, who is still in acting capacity, unlike the service chiefs that the Senate has severally called the president to rejig his service chiefs. But with Lawa Daura, it seamlessly had a smooth run. And one would think,
are you sure? Was Lawa Daura subjected to clearance?
All our point is,
was he subjected to clearance?
Yes, he was.
If he was subjected to clearance and there was nothing,
and even when there were allegations against him,
listen, if there was nothing against him, that was because at the very beginning, Mr. Saraki was playing the party man. So after becoming Senate president, he still needed to show that he was part of the party. That was even why Kemi Adeosun was passed, despite the problems about the forgery of the NYSC certificate. But when the crisis now came internally, when the party imploded, they started fighting against themselves. Just what we're saying. So it's only when the implosion came amongst members of the APC in government that you saw the fighting. Then the senators, some of them started fighting Magu, because Magu was even fighting members who were supposed to be members of the same party that appointed him, while he was being used to prosecute Saraki at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. So Saraki now had to fight back, and that's just how it is. Then, so I will only point at you when you point at me. And then subsequently, we now had the other fights where members of the cabal took different sides and started throwing stones at each other. For me, it's nothing. Don't forget, in life, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Nothing you have is good or bad, but it depends on the way you use what you have. So for me, I am happy for the implosion in the APC amongst all those people, because they used to be part. If there was no implosion, the PDP would not have members now returning to them, saying they're decamping. But whatever it is that you sow, you will reap. This is the same kind of machinations that the APC employed in imploding the PDP, trying to tell some of their members how very badly treated they were, and they said, yes, I agree with you. So what do you want? I have a party that is all about change. It will change the way you've suffered. It will change the way the country is. So they painted that picture of El Dorado to both Nigerians and also incoming party members. But when Saraki and Co. joined, it became a different story. It's like what you tell a lady at night before you go to bed. It's not what she sees in the daytime. That's what Saraki, that's what the rest of the membership of the APC. As I'm speaking to you today, the APC still has not been able to materialize into a national political party. Don't forget, it was formed as a coalition of about 3 different parties. You had the ACN, you had the CPC, you had the new PDP, you have ABGA, you have NMPP. So 5 different groupings. And right now, there is an implosion because of the sharing of what they believe to be the Commonwealth. It's not properly done. So you don't have to blame Nigeria or Saraki for what's going on. No. You blame the inability of the membership of the coalition for their inability to actually hold steady and share properly in a way that people will find accommodation. But that's what politics is. So the PDP won some people, the APC also got some people. You win some, you lose some. And politicians will continue to cross carpet, go into places where they think they could find accommodation. So I do not see anything abnormal in what's going on. All we have to do is, despite who have left your village and gone to live in a different community, yes, you might be very upset. Hey, this guy got rich when he was with us. He's moving to another place. He will now start paying tax in those areas. Hey, let it go. If you keep struggling as emotionally as they are doing, you will damage the democracy. And that's what we're saying. So whatever it is, they should simply be calm and respect the rule of law. Don't forget, politics is a contact sport. But every sport is played according to the laid down rules. You don't go there and try to change the game in the middle of the post. What Saraki is doing is not new. There's a precedent when the APC gained advantage of a crossover into its membership by Governor Tambuwal. Heaven didn't fall. Governor Kambuwa remained a governor until he became he remained the Speaker of House of Reps despite crossing over until he went to become the governor in Sokoto State. So I do not see anything new about it. No. If you want to use gun to disrupt the rules of the game, then you're trying to undermine our democracy. And I think that in itself is very injurious to the way that we've been.
Okay, now what would you make out of the interim report by the police that appears to have indicted the former DG of SSS, having received orders from some particular quarters outside the presidency?
Well, that is suspected. It's just because of the desperation. That's why you saw he said yes, that he got instructions from Mr. Boss Mustafa and Mr. Adam Soshomole. Adam Soshomole is the party chairman. Boss Mustafa is the secretary to government who works underneath the president. But as at the time this occurred, there was an acting president. So no matter what plans you had with the APC chairman and Mr. Boss Mustafa, if it's had to be about national security, you must go back and report to the principal. And the principal at that time was the president in acting capacity, Professor Osibanjo. But if you ask me, I will tell you that all these stories just spin. They are all collectively guilty of what has happened. If truly the acting president wants us to believe that he doesn't like these things, these unconstitutional attacks upon the democracy, he should act to also sack the Inspector General of Police for his organizing of policemen to blockade the Benue State House of Assembly. I think these things must be taken into proper holistic context. And I think the APC is right now not doing it correctly. They should allow the democracy to stay. These are the trying moments. It does not matter. Mr. Saraki is a human being. He can be talked to. You plead with a lady if you want her friendship. You don't force her with a gun. If you do that, that's rape. And rape is against the law. So we are asking the APC not to commit a rape of the rule of law. Don't undermine the democracy simply because you want advantage at all costs.
Okay, now, would you be shocked or surprised if an independent inquiry now indicts the senior leadership on the National Assembly blockade? Would it sound as a shock to you? Or how would you take it if there is an independent inquiry that indicts the senior leadership on the blockade?
Yes, of course, it's possible to indict the senior leadership to say that your actions are the reasons for those reactions. There must be a reason for somebody. But yes, the action of the senior leadership is the reasons why the APC is overreacting. That's the truth. But that should not constitute, under our law, a reason for indictment. But of course, this is Nigeria. You could have people write anything, lie, but this is not anything new. We knew about, I had information that this was going to occur. Every single siege at the National Assembly, I have seen. The very first one, I was there and I saw several policemen. I said, why are these people here? And before you knew it, the drama occurred. So it's nothing new. It's nothing new when we see that. All we simply say is we should abstain from this kind of practices because it brings friction and kind of puts the system under an avoidable, very, very avoidable tension.
Okay, now, away from the Senate President now and all the drama at the National Assembly, let's talk about Akpabio, who the PDP has lost, the big wig. I mean, what's your take on the defection of Godswill Akpabio?
That's politics. The PDP wants some, the APC wants some. That's where it is. So for me, I don't see anything new in it. If we, the PDP, were going to win something, who told you they won? It's like, you can see the World Cup. Some score 2 goals, other people score 4. So it's 4-2. Some score 2, others score 1. It's 2-1. Some score 3, others score 2. It's 3-2. That's the way it is. We win some, they win some.
You don't think this will affect the political permutation of Akwa Ibom State, especially the South, you know, where we know he holds some level of force in that region?
That is not the reasons why the PDP members were numbed on the day that Akpabio did declaration. The numbing, a lot of us felt, was on the same scale as the way we felt when President Goodluck Jonathan lost elections to President Muhammadu Buhari. We were shocked because why? Akpabio, on a scale unmatched, is considered as the most significant member of the PDP from southern Nigeria. There's nobody that rivals him. His emplacement of infrastructure, his groundbreaking constructions of work in Akwa Ibom is still unmatched by anyone else. People get money, but some who get money do not have the heart to do the things that Governor Akwa Ibom.
So you agree it's a loss for the PDP?
A big loss. Whoever tells you it's not a loss is a clown. I'm a member of the PDP. I felt it. I was watching television. I felt mortified. I was numbed. The first time I ever felt like crying in the past 3 years. The other time it happened was when President Goodluck lost. So if anybody tells you Governor Akpabio's walk away from our party is nothing, then that person probably is not a Nigerian, or he just lives with delusion.
But would the PDP say they didn't see any sign of his movement, owing to the fact that when the deputy senate president's house was sieged by policemen, and eventually the policemen left when his colleagues paid him a visit, we saw an interview of Godswill Akpabio saying that he's welcoming all the defectors of the APC to the PDP, and saying that he may just become the majority leader. You know,
that is right. He also said that at the party's meeting. So for me.
And these were 9 minutes to when he finally, you know.
That's why he has been successful as a politician. He keeps his cards close to his heart. Akpabio will regarded in the PDP as a lion of the south. We miss him. And just like politics, he may also come back tomorrow. If Saraki left before and Tambuwal and they came back, who says? Every bird that flies away from your house, if it does truly belong to your geography, no matter how long it takes, it will come back home someday.
So you think this could affect the fortunes of the PDP in the South region?
It does not affect
two senators
national
now,
momentum that I have seen.
Two senators now
yes.
from that same state are already in the APC.
Well, yeah, that the
one was there before.
The earlier one that left was because he complained that the structures of the party which he owned in his local area, which were part of the party's family tree, have been removed from him and handed over to the lady who used to be the former minister for housing. And he didn't like that, so he walked away. You know, politicians will always continue to crisscross in search of accommodations. So for me, it's nothing. You just simply need to find a way to keep them there. And if you can't, but then we've been challenged.
Let's talk about the fortunes now, the fortunes of the party.
The fortunes of the party are rising, no doubt, because the party was damaged, because it allowed its internal viruses to turn to illness, and those internal viruses were impunity, imposition, and the absence of internal democracy. So what brought the crisis was imposition of a new national chairman with some governors acting in impunity upon the party. And before you knew that, they started fighting with the man, and then we went to court. But the judges at the Supreme Court saw, they looked into the country, and they knew that the democracy needed a viral opposition, and they made their calculations and provided our democracy with an opposition, and we were grateful. But then we had to go back as a party to not try to kill ourselves of those internal viruses that developed into the wound which forced us to the Supreme Court. Well, that is something we must do. If you also ask me, just like the issue about Governor Akpabio, if it has been dealt in a holistic manner, not just him, against those he was dealing with.
What was the issue actually? Because many said he was under pressure. You agree?
If he was under pressure, one, and that tells you how the APC is. And that's why I told you that the national momentum would not stop. Okay? President Buhari, at the beginning, won election based on hope. And of course, the internal infightings in the PDP. If the PDP had fielded a different candidate in realization of the pleadings of its members from the North, who said they needed the candidacy ceded to them to complete the term that President Yar'Adua would have had he not died. If that had been done, the PDP would still be in power. But then, that's in the past. Don't forget, Nigerians have only known one national party, the PDP. The APC is a work in progress. It's a coalition that wants to merge itself into a national political party, and that's why you see them trying to get members from left and right. President Buhari ran before on hope. He got in there, and the way it's been is the reasons you've seen. Their inability to gel together as a national political party from being a coalition is what you're seeing that's making members bolt away. So for me, our democracy has done very well. Why do I say that? We've had the longest period of political stability in Nigeria's history. That's what's responsible for the growth of freedoms that you've seen. People like Saraki are beginning to assault. President Buhari came in with the mindset of the old when he used to wear the military uniform. That time, he did not see a National Assembly. He saw the presidency at the Jordan Barracks, and then he saw the judiciary. But today he came, he saw some other building called the National Assembly with more than 470 Nigerians. Every time he does not want to carry them through in bringing about national decisions, those 470 people sit down to connive against him. Ideas from 470 people, of course, would be much, much stronger than ideas from a cabal that don't seem to have cohesion. And that's why every time the National Assembly, led by its president, Senator Daura Sacked, has always trumped them. Ask yourself, how come in the last arrangement, while the APC senators were holding meetings, some of them were tweeting to actually tell Saraki and those in the National Assembly what's going on? That means not everybody in the APC are comfortable with what the APC is doing.
You don't think they're not over with the crisis yet?
No, how can they be? Nigeria can be over. It's only now the Nigerian crisis has started. So it's not an APC-PDP problem what you're seeing. It's a national problem. Why? The democracy has matured. It has now grown behemoths that cannot be pocketed. See, it's like you have a girl of 18 years old or a son of 18 years old. I don't have that. I have 3 of my children now. They have now graduated from university, and each of them are more than 19 years old. The way I treat those children is different from how I used to treat them 10, 15 years ago when they were all very young. So now my house has people in it that are as old as our democracy. I treat them differently. So the presidency must learn to treat the democracy and National Assembly differently if he wants peace.
Okay. On the final note now, Dr. Katch, the APC national chairman has said that Daura does not have any issues with the APC, meaning that there's some safe ground for the party in the House of Representatives. But many are disagreeing and saying Daura's heart is still with the PDP. What's your take on this? Are you guys certain that he would move over soon? We have less than 190 days to the election.
It's not me to make the call. The APC and the PDP are national political parties. These are distinct entities from the National Assembly. The National Assembly has its own right to elect its own leaders. It's the process that you follow that we are talking about. It has nothing to do with Mr. whether he's with them or not. That's not Mr. Shomole's call. It is left to the members of the House of Reps.
No, he's saying he's still a party member of the APC, which is a big plus for the APC.
That's not true. He is a party member on the scale of Governor Tambuwa. This is the way these things work. But Shomole thinks that his aggressive union strategy is the same way you deal with big men. All of them are bigger than him. They're all richer than him. Bukola Saraki and Shomole are not the same. You see, his rude way of talking to those people is the problem. You need to talk to a big man gently. You talk to them calmly. You speak to them with respect. When you call, whoa, 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 it will not work. You need to be calm, polite. It's like pleading with a lady for friendship. You don't force her. You don't threaten her. She will say, he's not even come through. He's talking like this. I cannot deal with this man. the democracy has matured to the extent that for you to deal with 8 behemoths so created after 19 years of the longest period of political stability in Nigeria's history, you must be polite towards such men. There is nobody at the National Assembly that cannot be president of Nigeria. Most of them, you can see, are more qualified than Buhari to be.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Katch Ononuju. I have been speaking with Dr. Katch Ononuju here on PTV Tonight.